Hi and welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show. I'm Atik Ahmadbati, a fourth generation homeopath with over 25 years of professional experience and practice in this field of healing. The Homeopathy Health Show is the online voice of homeopathy around the world, promoting and raising awareness of this truly unique system of healing, which is suitable for all ages, young and old. Every week I invite guests from the world of homeopathy to come and share their experiences, their work, offer insights, and essentially talk all things homeopathy. Why not visit www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast button to listen to the latest episodes. So let's begin today's show here on UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio. Hi and welcome to another episode of the Homeopathy Health Show here on the UK Health Radio Network, and I'm your host, Atik Ahmadbati. So I do hope you're well, and I wonder how your week's been. You know, I get so many comments nowadays from the show, so comments and questions, and I think it's going to lead up actually to probably a couple of episodes later this year where we actually talk about, or we get some experts, should I say, to come on and answer some of your questions, which are related to homeopathy, and even they're related to the guests. And that's actually really, really nice. So thank you to the huge community, about 240,000 now, a huge community of listeners to the show. So it's so nice. And it's always wonderful to be here. Now, my guest today is Brenda Plascencia, who is a national board certified classical homeopath, and she's based in Houston in Texas. And Brenda actually specializes in seasonal allergies, asthma, and several chronic conditions. And we're going to talk about that, of course, later in the show. Brenda herself was born in Mexico, and homeopathy was always the go-to medicine for her family. In fact, here's a fact for you. Her great-grandmother and grand-uncle were homeopaths. So woohoo, you know, that's just so good. Brenda Plascencia, thank you so much for joining me all the way from the US. Welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Atik, for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here and share with you.
It's going to be a wonderful conversation. Brenda, I must ask you about Mexico, and were you there for some time? I know I just mentioned that you were born in Mexico. So your great-grandmother and grand-uncle, were they alive when you were born?
No, they already passed when I was born. I was born in Mexico, and my homeopathic studies were done in Mexico. In Mexico, well, I don't know if the people that listen to the podcast know that Mexico has recognized homeopathy since 1895 or so as a profession there. So there are schools in Mexico to study homeopathy.
Wow, that's a really, really good fact. I didn't know that, of course, and I'm quite sure many people won't. So thank you for sharing that. So 1895, amazing. So do you know the history of how homeopathy came into Mexico itself?
I don't know exactly, but I know that that's the year that it came, because we had by that time the president of Mexico was Porfirio Diaz, which was very related to France and what was going in France. So homeopathy by that time in France was like the common way to treat diseases, and you know, it's where Hahnemann was developing. The most important years of homeopathy were in France. So they say that it was precisely for that influence that this president had about France that he introduced homeopathy into the country. So since then, we have homeopathy, and homeopathy is very accessible for everybody in Mexico. Even if you are not a homeopath, or if you don't have a prescription, you can go to a homeopathic pharmacy to get some remedies. And they are homeopathic pharmacies everywhere. So it's a good thing that I don't know in other countries, but in USA, we don't have that. We have to order remedies online, and they are very hard to find on stores, or the stock is very limited. We don't have many. In Mexico, we have all the remedies, all the potencies. It's a very popular, even if the people, even if there's one that do not use homeopathy, they know about homeopathy. And it's not like that in the United States. Many people just don't know what homeopathy is, or they believe that it's the same thing as home remedies or herbal remedies.
It's really fascinating, you're talking about Mexico, because honestly, I'm quite sure the listeners would not have expected homeopathy to be so popular in Mexico. It's just something we don't think about. And hey, that's one of the reasons why you're on the show, right? So we can talk about this, so to create awareness and let people know that this is what's going on there. So the pharmacies that are there, do they manufacture the remedies themselves, or are they from Germany, or how does that work?
No, we have homeopathic labs in Mexico. We have several homeopathic labs. So the pharmacies just sell the remedies directly from the labs. We have several. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And you mentioned that it's very easy to access homeopathy, isn't it? So how is that for people as far as conventional system and homeopathy? Do they use it hand in hand, or is it predominantly just for acutes, or really anyone's choice on what they decide to do?
What they decide. There's people that also prefers to use the conventional medicine, so they just use that. But there are a lot of people that can use both, and it's okay. Also, we have physicians that use homeopathy as in the regular basis instead of the conventional medicine.
Amazing. And tell me about the education system as far as homeopathy is concerned. Are they online courses, hybrid? Are they in-person diplomas
They
as
are in
such?
person. They are in person. They are well, we have two ways to study homeopathy. One way is as an specialty after finishing the medicine degree. Then you can choose homeopathy as an option. This is in Mexico City, or as a license, which is a 4-year degree. And the license cover like all the classes related to homeopathy, but also psychology classes, nutrition, and of course the anatomy, physiology, diagnosis. I mean, it's a very complete 4-year study program.
That's wonderful. What
And
do you have?
study.
Do you have like a society there, like we do in the UK or the US, or any type of umbrella organization for homeopathy?
It's not a society, but it depends on where you study, in which school you study. But we don't have a society because it's a recognized profession that we don't have this need to create a society like here or in the UK, because it's already established. And if you want to practice homeopathy, you just have to have your I mean, I don't know how to call this, your license, your permit to do it, and the one that the government gives to you. So you don't have to be part of societies in order to create this standard for practice that we need here.
That's Brenda. That's so inspiring. Honestly, it's so interesting. I really am genuinely interested in this, and it's so
there are
needed.
wonderful homeopaths in my country.
I can imagine they must be just as good as you then, or catching up certainly.
Oh, thank you.
Now, as far as homeopathy is concerned, your backstory is very interesting indeed. So do share your introduction to homeopathy for the listeners.
Well, homeopathy was like the common way to treat any condition at my house, because as you already said, my great grandmother and a grand uncle were homeopaths. So my mom used to use homeopathy or take us to the homeopathic practitioner when we got sick. So it was like the common and the natural way for us to treat. It's not like I discovered homeopathy. It's I grew up with it. So when I was a mom, when I had my first kid, my mom gave me a book about how to handle the acute situations by myself with homeopathy, which it was really awesome and wonderful, and I learned how to use it with my kids, like the common remedies. But then my youngest kid started with this croup condition, which is really horrible and scaring. So sometimes we had a very, very close friend, which is a homeopathic physician, and it's a very close friend from the family. So he was always helping me to manage the situation when the flare-ups of the croup came. But usually this used to happen during the weekends or during the night, and this created like a very bad feeling in me. Like I felt really bad that not being able to help my child with homeopathy. And one day we ended at the ER, which made me feel really bad because I knew that homeopathy can help, and in that moment I wasn't able to help with this, and I couldn't find the homeopath. So I remember that time was like a breaking point in my life, that I decided to study homeopathy myself, to be able to handle these situations at home with my kid. And once I started my studies, I discovered that it was my passion in life, and that I wanted to do it for the rest of the people around me, not just my family.
That's very, again, very, very inspiring indeed. And there's so many people who have the introduction to homeopathy because of a personal experience. It's the best experience, isn't it? Because you've seen it firsthand on yourself or your loved ones, children, and that's a sure set way of really appreciating the effects of homeopathy, because results don't lie. You can't just miraculously get better just by thinking about it, And sometimes it only takes, well, you're a classical homeopath, as you very well know. Sometimes it only takes 1 or 2 doses.
Yeah, it's like you can, as a homeopath, I imagine that you can see also some cases that you just surprise yourself, even that how homeopathy works wonders. There are cases that it's really amazing. And also it's really amazing, and I love to encourage moms to use homeopathy anytime, because I saw that in myself and in my kids. I have 3 kids. They are 27, 25, and 20 years old now. And they have never had an antibiotic in their lives. So it's amazing to see how you can raise healthy people to this world just with homeopathy. And myself, I've never had any antibiotic. I only homeopathy. So it's really important that people know that you can do that with homeopathy, that you can treat several conditions that usually people tend to go to the doctor and get antibiotics, that you can deal with it just with homeopathy.
One of the things I absolutely adore and love about homeopathy is the fact that, of course, after training and having obviously knowledge of the remedies, that goes without saying as such, but it's so easy to be able to help others. It's not a diagnostic nightmare, for want of a better word. It is straightforward, and one can really make a difference to people and say, hey, it's this remedy or it's that remedy, or take this and do that and do this, and the results are phenomenal. It doesn't mean you have to, let's just say it's medicine that doesn't stress you out.
Exactly, because it's safe, and also because we don't really need a diagnosis in order to treat it, because homeopathy do not treat the disease, it treats the person. So that's very important that make clear with people, and that people should know that we are not treating the specific condition, or we don't really need this diagnosis. What we need is symptoms in order to find the right remedy, because what the homeopathic remedies do is to just stimulate the body, the body's innate power for healing. So that's the best thing about homeopathy, that we don't, and that's why it's easy to use also for acutes at home, because you just follow the symptoms and you can help your child.
It's brilliant, isn't it? As far as home prescribing is concerned, for acutes and
Yeah,
emergencies, it's
exactly.
absolutely, there is nothing I've come across, and I've been introduced to so many different systems around the world, of course, because of the profession I'm in, but and the same, of course, for you and other homeopaths, but nothing can come close to the effect of homeopathy on everyday ailments, everyday episodes of an illness, which is
And I also encourage moms to get a homeopathic kit, because then I can help them easier and they don't have to bring the child. If they have a kid at home, they know that they can just call me and I can coach them about what to give them and how to give it. So that's a really important tool for moms to have at home. For acutes, of course, this is only for acutes. When it's a chronic condition, it's very important that they have clear that they have to go to a professional homeopath to handle the situation with classic homeopathy.
now that actually takes us on very nicely to your I suppose specialities, or the conditions that you come up against more often than not, which are seasonal allergies, asthma, and several chronic conditions. So with seasonal allergies, are you talking about inhalant allergies, external?
Yeah, I live in Houston. So Houston is a very highly allergenic area because there's a lot of seasonal allergies here. I mean, when the pollen, with the change of season, like at the very beginning of spring and when autumn it's coming. So there are the two huge seasons that I see that people is coming to see me because they have these allergies. So what I treat is not just the flare up, but they come to me to treat the chronic condition. I mean, this predisposition to develop the allergy. So I treat them like once a month, and we use remedies to help with the flare up. But even if it's not the allergy season, they are coming to see me to work in this strengthening their bodies. So the next season they can clearly see that their bodies are much stronger, and the symptoms either don't come or they are very mild the next season. So they can see this difference. And sometimes they come to see me after having this treatment with shots and a lot of tests about what is the allergenic cause or whatever. In homeopathy, we just need the symptoms that the person is having. So I don't need this kind of tests in order to treat the allergies. It's one of the things that I treat the most because I'm here in Houston. Another thing is the asthmatic reactions too, which are very similar sometimes, or they are related sometimes at the same time of the year. And autistic children, it's another condition that I see a lot here.
We'll get on
here,
to...
but in my practice, because I work worldwide, so I have patients from other parts, not just Houston area.
So with allergies, how do you go about? I know we can't talk remedies like that, but generally, what's the process that you follow? And can you see any synergies between remedies? Because you're based, so it's very geographic, isn't it? With seasonal allergies for you, so you're based in Houston, in Texas, and do you find that you sometimes, or many a time, use the same remedy or remedies because of the geographic nature, or does it happen that the individual suffering are actually different and they do require different types?
Well, usually the best remedy, the one that works constitutionally, of course, is according to each patient, and it's always different. But for the acutes, there are remedies that I find the most used for me, which is ranunculus pulvus, pulsatilla is another, agaricus, and sabadilla. Those are like the ones that I find that comes up during the repertory sessions because of the kind of symptoms during the flare-ups.
Interesting. And I suppose the same would be, or would be similar, perhaps, for asthma as well, and general heaviness
No,
of the chest.
for asthma, I find very common to use during the flare-ups, Lata orientalis, ipecacuana, sambucus, and Calicarbonicum. Those are one of the ones that I use the most for the asthma flare-ups.
Interesting you mentioned sambucus, because not many people know about it, or perhaps have not used it. Very profound remedy. Very well, every single homeopathic remedy is profound, right? So, but it's one of those, isn't it? It's one of those where you really need to look at it and read it and understand it, because it can come in very, very handy.
Yeah, so sometimes we have a picture of a remedy and we relate it just with some kind of symptoms, and we tend, and I'm included, that we tend to forget that one remedy can be helpful in some other conditions too.
Absolutely. You also mentioned at the start when I was introducing, I mentioned chronic conditions, and you just a short while ago you mentioned autism. What's it's such a huge growth, isn't it? Exponentially in children who are having who are now becoming special needs, who have learning difficulties, because they're on this spectrum. It is a very broad spectrum of special needs, on the autistic scale as such. What's your experiences here?
Well, I find that homeopathy can be very useful in this. Well, the autistic spectrum is very, very wide. So there are some kids that are very functional and they have a mild autism. But in this case, when the kids have a lot of aggression or the behavioral situation, it's really stressful for the parents, and at home, homeopathy, it works very well in create this balance, or in helping to lower the aggression or this bad behaviors that they can have. So and this is not possible sometimes with the conventional medication, because sometimes it just worsens the condition and it's not really helping, because it can create an extra symptoms. So parents can see that homeopathy helps in a very natural way, because they help the kid to be more balanced, and then start seeing that the reactions start like being not that aggressive, or that the kid can start making more eye contact. I mean, the kids start like the energy of the kid can improve, and they start step by step, like being again into the family, or trying to socialize with. Sometimes it's just something that they don't see in these kids. I mean, each case is different, but in general, homeopathy helps a lot to this kids.
Yeah, I would second you on that, and also the fact that it generally, it's with autism. I always find that the first step is always detoxification, and that really does cleanse very, very well, cleanse the base of treating. I mean, the treatment protocol as such,
And it's part of the treatment. I mean, I start with the classical homeopathic treatment, but I also use the homeopathic detox, which is great in these cases.
It's so important. And it's interesting though, isn't it? We're talking about this, and there are discussions taking place there are discussions taking place. Sorry, folks, I will get the words right. There are discussions taking place around the world and conferences and on autism and how best to treat that. And yet here comes along homeopathy, which says, well, look, these are the certain steps that perhaps need to be taken, of course, dependent on the individual, because every individual is different. But knowing all of that, it goes in and it says, okay, well, this is what's required, and let's go for it. And like you so wonderfully said, the results can be amazing. Children who were not making eye contact are making eye contact. Children who have repetitive behavior, including clapping hands, perhaps, or repeating sentences or repeating programs they've watched, starts to go. The fact that they start to many a time talk and they're receptive to their parents and they're able to understand. And I mean, these are huge leaps, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And the best results that I see is in smaller kids, because when the parents come to treat the kid with homeopathy since a very early stage, and they stop having like conventional medication with the kids, and they start just to embrace homeopathy for acutes and for the autistic condition. I mean, it creates like a very different kid that start treating them with medication, and then if they come like when they are teenagers after years of medication, those are the most difficult cases to help than those that start like in early stage of the condition, and that the parents realize the importance of a more natural lifestyle for the kid and for treating the acute conditions that can come. So that they start being more natural oriented in general. So those kids can really see improvements soon. I mean, it's amazing how homeopathy can help.
I've been spending a lot of time on, the researching on, the detoxification process. And today, in the current society we live in around the world, because of just technology, the advancement and the various pollutants that are out there, including on food as well, and airborne particles, and it's so important to detox, because sometimes, I mean, I'm speaking from personal experience only, I'm just putting it out there, but sometimes you can give a remedy or remedies, depending on your approach, and nothing happens. But as soon as you give something to detoxify, the body starts to respond to the remedies that you give subsequently, right? The vital force comes into play, which shows you suppression.
They create a blockage. So it's
Yeah.
not that toxic substance in the body is not allowing the homeopathic remedy to act. So once you clear it and detox it, then the remedy can act. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so important, isn't it, to recognize that, because many a time I've come across so many homeopaths who've sort of are really frustrated, and oh, this didn't work and that didn't work and we tried this. And sometimes it's as simple as just detoxifying the body, and it needs it. And it's not anti-classical or anti-whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's about the patient. And you could argue, Brenda, that we're all toxic because of the environment that we live in.
We live in a toxic world.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we're not going to the moon anytime soon, I think. So, there's no makes me think of that film, actually. Matt Damon and Elysium. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I think that, yeah.
Yeah. It's a totally different world, isn't it? Very appealing, I have to say. Anyway, we totally went off tangent. So, what else are you up to? Tell me, how is homeopathy as far as Houston or Texas is concerned?
Well, the area where I live, it's a very nice area for this kind of natural medicine, because I live North Houston. It's called the Woodlands, but there's also Magnolia and some other areas where there's people very natural oriented, that they are trying to start like a new life system and trying to be out of the medical system in here and try to be more natural. They grow their own food. They are studying homeopathy. So it's a very, very interesting and nice niche of people that I can see around me in this area. So they look a lot of for homeopathic practitioners or homeopathic stuff. They are very into it. And I think you know Paula Brown.
Yes,
You,
because
yeah,
you're very much a
yes,
doppelganger of Paola Brown. You look
yeah.
very much like Paola.
Yeah, she's doing an amazing job with all these moms that she's helping them to learn more about homeopathy. So most of these people is in this area, and Paula is in this area too. So it's really nice what she's doing, because there are a lot of moms learning homeopathy and learning that homeopathy can help them to be in a more natural living style and grow healthier kids to this world.
You know, you mentioned something very, very important, which was about um, agriculture, essentially, and growing your own food. And I think with the current way the world is heading, and we all know it's not heading towards the positive, you know, it's getting very dark and very gloomy. Things are not looking good for everyone, I suppose, at the end of the day. Um, it's so important, isn't it, to be able to have that skill, to be able to grow your own food, because who knows, we may need that in the future. We have homeopathy, so you know, you could argue, God forbid, there's no critical emergency, but within the house, you're relatively okay. Sore throats, fevers, flu, bumps, grazes, body aches, migraines, whatever. But then to couple that with a natural way of living, to be able to understand how to grow crops, to see them bloom, it's so needed, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that we have to go back to the basics where
Yeah,
we started. At the end is the best. Yeah,
yeah.
because we are being poisoned by this food that we just get at the grocery stores, like full of toxins and bad stuff for our health.
You know, I've been to places in the world where, you know, so for example, in the UK, personally, I'm just saying my personal experience I'm offering here is just that, or sharing, should I say, rather than offering. Hey, I'm having one of those days, aren't I, with my words? It's been a long week, trust me, but it's been fun, so I'm not complaining. But hey, um, it's interesting. I've had chicken in the UK, and I've been abroad several countries, and the chicken is fresh. You know, it's just, you know, being prepared fresh. My God, what a difference! Absolutely, it's totally different. You know, it's such a different. It actually, you know, there's this old saying, it tastes like chicken, but real chicken tastes how it one can imagine it should be tasting. And then you come back, and I come back, should I say, and I think, hang on a minute, this doesn't taste like chicken. It's just something chewy without any flavor. It's
That's
amazing, isn't it?
that's true. That is so. And it's the quality of the thing that we are eating now. I can see a lot of people that it's gluten intolerant here in United States, but if they go to Europe, they can eat all the bread and all the pasta without any problem. So it's the quality of the food that we get
Yeah,
from.
they always say the I'm sure you've heard this, the Mediterranean diet is, and the you know, olive oil and ripened, freshly ripened, non-toxic tomatoes and aubergines and whatnot. You know, that's why people's health in certain parts of the world is so amazing. You know, a 70-year-old will act and behave and look like a 50-year-old person. You know, it's a world apart, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, there's a documentary on Netflix. I'm sure you already saw it, the Blue Zones, which talks about this, how the people that lives the longer, is the one that eats the better in these areas of the Mediterranean or Japan. They mentioned several areas where,
Yeah,
and the clue is the food and the lifestyle that they have.
absolutely. I was going to ask you, what do you eat then?
I try to eat clean as much as I can. I mean, I try to get organic food. I try to eat the best that I can, because in this country it's not that easy. But I do my best.
Good, good. So, what else are you up to? Do share. Do you teach as well, or are you thinking perhaps of teaching online?
Sometimes I do this workshop for moms online. I have my when I have a group ready, then I do these workshops to help them how to manage acutes at home. And I also have this mentorship when for students that they are getting their homeopathic degree. When they need extra help, I can help them with this. I mean, they book half hour or an hour with me, and then I can help them with the homeworks, or if they have questions, or if they are not getting some important thing in homeopathy, like explanation on when to use no salts or potencies. I mean, I do this mentorship too.
Wonderful. And that must keep you quite busy, I must say, because you, like you said, you have a family as well, and homeopathy is in the blood, literally. So that's actually so refreshing to know. Anyway, do you have any stories from your great grandmother or granduncle? Have any stories come down?
Well, I didn't meet them in person, but
Mm.
I have, for example, their books. I have them, which are very old. If you let me, can I show them to
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. Yes. Yes. And in fact, as Brenda does go to get those, because the podcast is the Homeopathy Health Show is
They
audio
are
based,
so old.
but I will
They're
share
very
these
old
on my
now.
YouTube.
Look at this. They are so old. They are just
Wow.
disintegrating. But I love them.
Oh, hey, I gotta show you. I've also I got books very similar to that.
Look at this. This was of my great grandma. So look at
Wow.
this book. It's like a treasure for me.
I'll have to share this part, the video of this part on my on the Homeopathy Health Show YouTube channel. I think people would want to see that. Do send
Yeah.
me pictures of them as well.
Okay, I will. I will do that.
It's
They're-
almost a national treasure, isn't it, to have them?
Yeah. And I love this. And I remember when I was a little kid, my grandfather, because it was his grandmother, the one that was homeopath, and his brother. So I remember that he had these books. And when I was a little kid, I remember myself looking at this because it has some drawings. So I
Yes.
like to see it. This is about arsenicum album. So I remember that when I was a little girl, I loved to read this. And I didn't know what I was reading, but I just like it. So it's interesting that now they are mine, and then now I'm a homeopathic practitioner.
Wonderful. And it's so amazing, isn't it, Brenda, that
It is.
100
Absolutely.
and odd year to over 200 years ago, should I say, um, that material was written on remedy provings and the early materia medicas. It's incredible the amount of detail. I mean, wow, that's an achievement, right? It's a wonder in itself when you pick up various books and you look at the remedies and how how minute the details are of a certain remedy, the signature of that remedy. Isn't that
And
in itself just such a wonder as far as homeopathy is concerned?
and it's amazing how I mean, I always say this, that it's amazing how Hahnemann was so advanced in his time that still now it's not totally understood homeopathy.
Mm.
It's still something that causes a lot of controversial, and I mean, it's very the medicine of the future that it's not yet understood.
maybe, Brenda, maybe that's why it isn't so understood, because it is medicine of the future.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
are just catching up,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
with the advances with understanding, quantum physics and vibrational forces and energy and kinetic energy. And only now people are realizing there's so much more.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, though, isn't it? It makes you think that, well, hang on, over 200 years ago,
Yeah, it's
surely
like,
Hahnemann
how
was
he knew?
that endowed with that knowledge, right? Otherwise, why would he dilute a remedy, do this, whole serial logarithmic dilution, and then why would he then succuss the remedy? How
We,
does
we,
that?
yeah, he knew about how, the energy, and
Yeah,
we are now starting to understand this energetic concept. And he already knew that it was energy, the secret to
yeah.
help the body to heal.
I
The
will give
body,
you,
the one that heals itself, and the energetic remedy is just stimulating it. So it's really amazing. It's
the analogy here would be that many, many moons ago, if you had epilepsy, then you were classed as having a mental illness, or that you were possessed. As you remember, we've heard these stories, right, from ancient times gone by. And then science caught up, and it was like, well, no, this is a diagnostic, this is the diagnosis for epilepsy, and this is what perhaps may cause it. So it's interesting, isn't it? It's the same with homeopathy. It's like, but it's the other way around. It's already Hahnemann knew, so it's total reverse, and people are now catching up. So should I say, science is catching up,
yeah,
isn't it? So totally reverse, but amazing nevertheless.
it's amazing.
Have you had the opportunity to travel abroad and meet some of the homeopaths that perhaps you've read some of their books, like we all have?
Yes, because here in the United States, we have this annual convention that the National Center for Homeopathy organizes, where we have the opportunity each year to reunite all the homeopaths, and sometimes they come from some other parts of the world, these great homeopaths that are very known internationally. So I've had the opportunity to meet some of them.
You're referring to the JAHC, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah. I did a special.
I wasn't able to attend this year, but I usually try to.
Oh, you missed a very special year, because, as you know, the film introducing homeopathy.
I know, which
was,
is amazing. Yeah.
It's actually being. I know they've had several screenings this year, so that in itself is an amazing achievement. I think it's revolutionary.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it this Friday because I wasn't able to watch it on the convention, and I was on a trip with my mom and my sister, so I wasn't able to watch the film. But now I'm going to watch it this weekend.
Good, wonderful. Brenda Plascencia, it's been so nice of you to come on the Homeopathy Health Show, and we've had a wonderful conversation, and I'm very grateful to you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge.
Thank you very much, Atik, for inviting me. It was really, really nice and a pleasure, and I just love being here with you.
Thank you so much. I do hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Homeopathy Health Show. Please do support the show by clicking follow on my socials. Remember, the more exposure the podcast receives, the better for homeopathy around the world. You can find me on Instagram by searching for @like_treatslike, and on both Facebook and TikTok by searching for @like_treatslike. So let's promote the voice of homeopathy on radio and podcast around the world together. Don't forget to visit me online at www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast tab. Here you'll be able to see all the guests that have joined me on the show so far, and of course you can stream on demand the latest episode to your mobile, tablet or PC. Until next time, stay safe and take care.